there can be repair. Now, what will happen if that nerve cell body is intact? And this part right here, notice that they're trying to show us that the end of that nerve is at a muscle. Okay? Now, meeting that muscle fiber, okay, when it loses that innervation, that muscle will atrophy. Okay? That particular fiber, the fibers that muscle, that nerve innervates, without the impulses, those fibers atrophy. Now, depending upon how quickly repair can occur will determine if the muscle recovers. Does that make sense? So right here, my nerve cell body is intact. The axon areas are close together. This part that is still connected to the nerve cell body will begin to branch out. It didn't regenerate. It's because the nerve cell body didn't duplicate. Does that make sense? It branched out because I was in close proximity to the muscle where it occurred, and when healing is done, my muscle can recover, which happens all the time. It happens as we have these little nicks and cuts, okay? But what if it's a bigger, deeper trauma that has taken place? What if there has been a bone that got broken, protruding through the skin? Wasn't that part of the essay question? Huh? Wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, so what if that takes place and I sever these peripheral areas? Well, let's say that bone breaking through created a tear, a break in the axon that's no longer close to each other. So now, as this part begins to die off, rather than the branching continuing back to that muscle fiber, my branching goes off in a different direction. These muscle fibers never get re-innervated. Those muscle fibers atrophy, they don't recover, and therefore that area of the muscle can never return to normal function. Does that make sense? And wherever that particular cell now branched to, it's now got innervation. That could be a lot of places. It could create a situation where maybe the cells that innervates are constantly feeling like they're electrified or something. Might be kind of painful. That neuralgia maybe might show up. Okay? But this could happen. For example, in the case of the bone that got broken and protruded through the skin. That area where the nerves got broken might not ever come back to normal functioning tissue. For it to come back to normal functioning tissue, those axons need to be close to each other. The tear in between needs to be closed, and the body of the cell needs to be intact. So just answer part of your essay question for you. That's pretty cool, or what? Does that make sense? Any questions or anything before?
Do we ever engineer something to help fix the tear?
And the axon? Actually, that is an area of huge research. because they've discovered a lot of things that, now a lot of it is being applied to the central nervous system, okay? One of the things that they've come a long way in helping the repair of are the cells that die at the time of the stroke. Because, you know, at the time of a stroke, those particular brain cells, they die, all right? And yes, regions of the brain are going to affect somewhere on the body. So they're finding that if they can get the blood flow restored, that some of those cells can repair. Not regenerate, but repair, all right? I think some of the other things that they're working on is when the spinal cord gets severed, okay, or cut, something that could lead to paralysis. They have certain medications now that I think if administered in time can actually help in the repair process, even though it would not occur completely. Now, peripheral nerves, one of the things that we have learned that for every one of these nerves that are exiting the spinal column, okay, the spinal cord, the vertebral column, for every one that's exiting, we have pretty much determined the area it innervates. So let's say some type of traumatic injury occurred, okay, and you've got a section that muscle didn't recover. They can go in now and they can actually have areas that they can sever that nerve to stop the pain. So they've come a really long way in treating any type of injuries that come about with the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. I mean, a tremendous way. I mean, saw this video one time. I think it was on those, the one that I showed of like the incredible human machine, the body, all right? And the person was getting, I think they were going to be having some type of shoulder surgery. And because the nerve didn't work out the way they planned, they rerouted to a nerve that comes for the breathing muscle. And until the brain relearned that activity that was needed, every time they breathed, something on their body was going to be moving. I can't remember if it was their fingers or whatever, but until the brain rewired with that new connection to the nerve, and I was like, oh man, you know that's not cool, but that's cool. You know what I mean? So okay. So when we say regeneration, we are saying that it can repair, not that it will duplicate, not that we'll see one become two. Same thing for the muscle. So the muscle's not going to do it either. Muscle cells, one is not going to become two. So like whatever you're born with, that's what you got. Pretty cool if you think about it. So when we look at the cells, once again, very similar to what we saw with the muscle cells. These are going to be cells that are going to generate an action potential. They are going to be able to transfer, and this is kind of cool, information from one part of the body to another. Wow. My brain can make my legs move. My brain can make me move my toes. It's so cool. Once again, the electricity is due to my ions. Everything that we have talked about from the very first week in class is still present. That's pretty cool. Did y'all hear the student out in the hallway who stopped and saw me on Tuesday? Okay? And did any of y'all hear her saying, Dr. Burnett, guess what? They kept telling us everything occurs at the cellular level. Did y'all hear that? And she was like, I had to come back and tell you. I had to come back and tell you. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad to hear that. You know, and I'm teaching it the way I'm supposed to be teaching it. So once again, we're going to find, just like we have before, sodium on the outside, potassium that's going to move back and forth. Now, this time, we're going to see chlorine. What in the world? Haven't seen that before. Okay? But in the nervous system, you guys know how we've always talked about sodium chloride, the table salt that we eat. Have you ever wondered where the chloride ions might be? Because chlorine is deadly. But my chloride, to get to my body, is helpful. So now is where we find the use of the chloride ion. So what we're going to see is sodium chloride ions outside. So in the areas around these nerve cells. Once again, negativity on the inside, proteins. One of the things about proteins, which is the only thing a cell can make, and in this case, the product of a nerve cell, because that makes the neurotransmitter, one of the things about a protein, proteins are negative. So that is one of the things that contributes to the inside of the cell being negative, and then all those sodiums being positive on the outside. And once again, we're going to have to see, can those ions flow in opposite directions? And what y'all get? Yeah, they can. Okay, great. Be back at 3:30.